Is Bob Marley on your list? Is James Brown on your list? They weren't important enough. Well, check hard because you won't find them on your list.
Let's certainly see what number 59 is.
I don't know if they're on my list. This is a list, people, of personal favorites. My personal favorites don't include all those tired old Beatles albums. I don't know if those people are going to appear. What I do know is at 59, these are the boys that, we talk about these people who rock, these are the boys who taught them how to rock. Zeppelin. They rocked before, they're rocking now. Jimmy Page, Robert playing Rock On, but Rock On, baby. Led Zeppelin 2, I love it. I'm going to go crank it right now. You do that, Dan, we'll miss you. Number 60, Tom Waits, with an album, Small Change. It's a great album. Tom is just guttural, and he's cool. The piano has been drinking and not me. And step right up.
Reg mercifully free.
Reg mercifully allowed to leave by contract. And coming in at number 59, Ricky Lee Jones with an album of some sort of assorted tidbits that she put together. The album's The Magazine. It's got great music. Deep Space, This Must Be Love. Beautiful songs. She's wonderful. I'd love to fuck her. Apparently someone isn't getting as much as they need. 58. Oh, I get plenty. I just love to do it in the sack with Ricky Lee. 58, Elton's Back, Tumbleweed Connection. This is a great album. Tumbleweed, he's doing it. Just all kinds of great songs. St. Pete, Where Did Not St. Peter's, Son of Your Father, My Father's Gun, Amarino, Love Song. You gotta love it. 57. I have a feeling you know your father's gun a little bit better. 57, a group we haven't heard from yet. We will more. The Stones. I've always loved them. I love them. I see them whenever I can. Fred and Barney. No, you know I'm talking about. Mick and Keith. Rolling Stones, Flowers. Great album. I was all over it. I don't own this album. I was all over it. It's the Towers. It's the Towers. Number 58 for me. An album by one of the kings of the scene. Soul world, one of the soul bros, and he's blind, and he can sing. Stevie Wonder, Hotter Than July is the album, featuring Master Blaster, featuring I Ain't Gonna Stand For It, which may be what you're saying right now, featuring a lot of great songs. Stevie Wonder, Hotter Than July is number 58. Number 57, the slow hand himself, Eric Clapton, with Slow Hand. And I have to say myself that there's nothing I like better than a nice slow hand. And I'm sure you're a big Pointer Sisters fan. Number 56, U2, Boy, first album. How are you on 56? Because 57 was Flowers. I'm just behind.
Where are you, Mr. Gold?
I'm also on 56. That's fine then. But you were doing two at a time. The point is, it's working out. All right. I think you skipped one. Yeah. No, I didn't. I really didn't. I did those two. No. Boy, U2, great songs. First album, they made their appearance. Everyone knows you do. 55, and I'm not saying this as a studio audience because everyone wishes upon my worst enemy. Wish You Were Here. Floyd, great. You've got Shiny and Crazy Diamond, long instrumentals. You love that for the Floyd. 3 great singles. The Floyd, they're doing it up. I wish it wasn't here. 55.
Now Floyd. And interesting that you bring that up. First time mentioned.
Yeah.
Would you say that just hearing the albums and not seeing them in concert, would you lose anything by not seeing the special effects? Without seeing them blow that pig up and see them slim, this is a group that floating around. Musically at best is mediocre. They're mediocre. They're tired songs, ridiculous, pretentious, meaningless lyrics. Dan had a momentary lapse of reason and went out to see them and bounced the pig around with a bunch of buffoon-like girls. You gotta go out there with lasers, explosions, and it's like Star Wars in real life. I love the Floyd. All right, which brings up another interesting thing. Now, suppose we had a list of, say, artists who were great to see in concert.
Well, that's interesting.
Would that take a different shape, or do you find that artists usually...
Well, the list should be a similar shape. I'd probably still do it on an 8.5 by 11, rectangular piece of paper.
Fold it up in a 2...
And fold it up and maybe put it on my jacket. The makeup of the list might be different. Well, you've got the obviously when artists are going to go on stage in front of a lot of people, they're going to make themselves up differently than when they're just in the studio, I mean, they're going to have to... Because you don't see them when they're in the studio. People need to see their features. One of the fundamental things about a concert experience is if you can't see the features on a Bowie or a John, you're out there.
John. Elton John, I think was the reference.
No,
John.
David Bowie or when you're in the John. If you can't see the features, if I'm sitting on a John and I'm unable to see the features of
Most Johns have a mirror.
To which features are you referring?
of the activities,
Double features. I
the
enjoy double
features of the activities that are taking place on the John. Do I need to be so overt on a television program?
Well, why change?
Excuse me?
All right, let's move on with the list.
Well, change because otherwise your clothes get scaggy and dirty.
You
and
two, The
smelly.
Boss, Prince, great concerts. The Who, The Stones, great concerts. Let's move on.
To put U2 first on that list
Right,
is like
first, there's no particular.
There was no numbered system.
no
on that.
numbered system, but I mean U2 is not on the same league with any of those other groups, and they wish they
Great
were.
concert band.
Ridiculous. 56 for me is Tull. Oh God. Oh my God. Good Lord. Yes, I'm sitting right there.
If I could interject, I love the talk.
Jethro
For
Tull.
me to listen to this.
Jethro Tull is a great and an innovative and an important band. Brilliant instrumentalists, exciting, powerful music. They're fantastic. The album is living in the past. It's beautiful. Dr.
Aptly titled.
If Dr. Weiner took the time to listen to this album, I think he might even find he enjoyed it. But no, he's got to put everything down that he's not familiar with. He knows his Madonna and his Debbie Gibson because he listens to the Zoo and To Kiss One Away. He doesn't know his Tull. He doesn't know his reggae. He doesn't know his Waits. He doesn't know his Ricky Lee. And that's why, frankly, he and I don't belong on the same pulpit up here.
I think it's in all of them. I would only respond if it's in all of our interest to keep moving along.
And 54. I gotta do 55. And at 55, another album that my partner is an odd word to use if it forced.
He's taking a
Is
liberty.
wait, if I could avoid having the snot rags thrown at me here, is an album that he also would not appreciate. By Bob Marley and the Wailers, the album's Catch a Fire.
Throw a few more of those on there.
It's a great album. Songs concrete. John, go stop that train. I love it.
54, we've heard it before, Peter Gabriel, so I agree, but just pat it a little higher. 53,
40 notches higher, in fact.
I wish.
yours was 94.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see what 14 brings.
Mine was 95, actually.
53, Rat in the Kitchen, we heard about it, great album. Love it, I love it.
So, in fact, Dr. Weiner has conjured up some reggae.
I conjured it up, I threw it on.
It's pop reggae. It's not real reggae. He wouldn't know real reggae if it hit him in the face.
And yet it made your list.
It made my list a great album, number 77. Not an album that should have been placed. Neither of those albums should have been placed there. But when you have as limited knowledge of music as Dr. Weiner does, you're a little bit limited in terms of what you can do. Number 54, an album from the Talking Heads, who we've discussed in depth. The album is Speaking in Tongues.
Oh my God.
It's a very good album. I enjoy it. Number 53. Number 53 is an album from Prince. Prince solo material. It's already been discussed. My sister, I was only 16. That's no excuse. My sister was 32, lovely and loose. My sister never made love to anybody else but me. Her hair's coming from
Is
her...
this Dirty Mind?
She never wears no underpants. She says it only gets in her hair, and it's got a funny way of stopping the juice. If you think it's disgusting, don't buy the album. If you think it's funky, buy it. It is. Sister, Head, all those songs are funky. Prince is a genius. He's got the number 53 song on my artist. It's Dirty Mind.
We've already
Oh,
discussed
gee,
it.
like it's like you're moving so quickly.
52, Genesis, self-titled Genesis. I love this album. It's a little pop, but I love the songs. That's all kind of a lame pop song. I like taking it all too hard. It's a good time. Something you might understand in your sick mind. The intense Oedipal fury of Mama. I think that's a hot song. I love that song. Home by the Sea. I love it. Genesis, self-titled Genesis. 51, this guy keeps showing up.
I have to interject. To put that at number 52 is just, I mean, I hate to interject. I know that we're running out of time, Hal. that is just ridiculous. It's not even a good album. It's one thing to put Abacab there. Abacab is a good album, not a great album, and I wish I could put it in because I like it. Genesis, the self-titled album, to throw that name around in the top 50, it is not that good. Taking It All Too Hard is apparently something Dr. Weiner's been doing a little too much of, because that album, I mean, it's preposterous to have that album up there, and go ahead with your number. I can't wait to hear what this is.
I guess some of us are just always right. Okay, seriously, this one's number 51 because it includes only numbers in its title. It's 1999. Prince 1999, I might have placed it higher. I almost did. Because some of these songs are as great as songs you'll ever get. This is a breakthrough album, pop, rock, pop, funk, fusion. I just have trouble with the fact that to me almost 60% of this album is just droning on filler. It's a great album. I don't want to talk it down. That's just my reasons for having it lower. Great album, Prince. He keeps
droning on filler. It's great music. There's a little filler, but he's a genius. And anybody who doesn't put that in their top 50 of all time is someone I don't want to sit next to. Number 52.
I can arrange that.
Number 52 is a self-titled debut from the band Fishbone. Go on. Bone is bone. They bone in the boneyard. They just bone, and they can bone.
Oh, I wonder how you relate to this.
I love the bone, and I love to bone, and actually I would even consider boning the bone. And speaking of that, our host Ed did something with his bone. Could you tell us about that, Ed?
It was very relieving.
Ed felt it might be appropriate to urinate on this.
My only regret is that I couldn't flush myself down.
Number 51, and this is something that we all are after a long evening of critiquing, is Off the Wall. And it's a Michael Jackson album that is funky, and it is good. Don't stop till you get enough. Off the wall, get on the floor, which is something I like to do with all my boys and girls. And it's Michael Jackson's Off the Wall album. I love it. Number 51.
50 captures a state of this great state: wild times, fast cars, fast lanes. Hotel California, the Eagles. Their best album, Life in the Fast Lane, Hotel California, Wasted Time. You gotta love it. 49, a group that usually annoys me, doesn't do a great job, but this is a classic album, Making Movies, Dire Straits. Derek doesn't like Dire Straits. That's just right. Not everyone likes them. There's a lot of people who love them more than I do, and I don't want to hear from them either. I love Romeo and Juliet. I love
Shakespeare's got nothing to do with it.
I love making movies.
Yeah, your hobby's got nothing to do with it.
I know I'm not. I don't mean to be here or not talking about the album. I love the album. It's number 49.
Number 50 for me is the second album from a band whose first album we discussed earlier. They're hard rock and they're out of L.A. They're Van Halen. Van Halen 2.
Are they out of L.A.?
Out of L.A.
Wow.
From the L.A. heavy metal
When
scene.
you say L.A., you mean Los Angeles?
They're real cool. I like David Lee. I like Eddie. And
no good.
And Van Halen 2 just pumps with the best of them. There's not a bad track on the thing. They get you in and out of there in about 10 minutes, but who cares? You gotta love it for that time. Number 49, an album Dan already talked about. U2's album Boy. Certainly the highest entry for U2, a band who I think is...
That's your highest U2 entry?
I think a band that's...
Oh, a little giveaway there.
I think a
Interesting.
I think a band that's terribly overrated. We talked earlier about The Unforgettable Fire, an album I very much like. Boy, an album that I would even go as far as to say I can love. Any Boy.
Are you referring to the album? I was about to say if you were referring to the album or the gender.
I think we would all agree that it's not purely coincidental that an album titled Boy would make my top 50, but it's more than that. It's good. It's good music and it rocks, and I enjoy it, and that's my number 49 album. But don't expect to see War or Joshua Tree or October or any of those tired albums on this, because you won't.
Oh, wow, I think I'll just leave. Okay, let's look at 48 and see who's next. Exactly. I love this album. This is the Who They Do It. I love, you know, everyone knows Bobby O'Reilly. Everyone loves him. Great guy, he's stealing cars in Brighton. Everyone, there's that tired, old, long, drawn out, won't get fooled again. That's what you're saying. This is probably the last time you're watching this program. I like The Song Is Over, an overlooked track. I love this album. 47, Young Lady, we're obviously differing on, but an album you at least like more than the other, Madonna. Madonna. Physical attraction, burning up, borderline, funky songs from a young artist making a splash.
Well, it's obvious that Dan here has a physical attraction.
I've made a splash myself with the young lady, which is maybe my co-host here was turned down by her, which is why he's so bitter.
He wishes he made a splash. The only splash he made was not with her. Anyway, Madonna.
Did make a splash.
He did make a splash. Whatever. Anyway, Madonna, to put her that high is silly, but at least it's an adequate album as opposed to that other one he dredged up for this.
R.E.M., we've talked about them, we're not going to beat them into the ground, but Life's Rich Pageant is an outstanding album.
This is an album that you have to have. The songs are good, the music's good. I like it. Life's Rich Pageant's number 48, and 47, Tom Waits, who we've talked about earlier, with Frank's Wild Years.
He's great to have around. I don't like the people from this city, I don't like this city, I don't like a lot of things about it, but let me tell you what I do like, and that's Lou Reed, New York. It's a new album. I think in 5 years from now, this album could be much higher. It's a new album. It's not an old album. It's a new album. I love it. He's got things to say. Hold On was on the op-ed page in New York Times. Great album. Some of these songs rock. Busload of Faith, Dirty Boulevard, Romeo and Juliet, Straw Man. Does anybody need another 50,000
Anybody can go buy the album and list all the titles. I mean, I can list
Dinosaur Mystery, Halloween Parade.
No one wants to hear all the titles. If you have something interesting to say about the titles,
The Beginning of a Great Adventure,
but for us to hear a
The
list
Last
of the
Great
titles
American Whale.
is truly unpleasant.
I love it.
That's just unpleasant.
45, The Beatles. No More Comedy is the White Album. They had split their separate ways. This album, it doesn't need to be a double album. There's things that don't belong there. Make this one album, cut it in half. You've got another something that would stand with any album the Beatles did. They didn't do this. They made 48 songs. Some people think because of their contract, which had to do with number of songs that they had. There's just great
to
things.
dredge up a Beatles history here. This program is not about what you're discussing.
The Beatles were
so far
formed
as a
in
catalog of song titles.
The Beatles were formed in 1961 in Hamburg. That's another story. I've written a book about the Beatles White Album.
Number 46, XTC's great pop album, their classic album. Some people I've seen listed put it as the #1 album of the 80s. Not quite there for me, but it's a great album, English Settlement.
Number 45,
XTC doesn't belong here.
Tom Petty and the just because Dan's never heard of it. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers with their third album, Hard Promises, featuring The Waiting, featuring
Great songs.
Featuring great songs. Night Watchman, A Woman in Love, It's Not Me, Insiders.
That song is all too appropriate for my co-host.
A Woman in Love, It's Not Me. You're damn right it's not me.
Anyhow, move on with it.
Okay, well, I think we're beginning to see the picture.
We're headed towards the top 40, and things are just getting more exciting as we go.
44, The Lonesome Jubilee. I love Cougar. I love this album. I put it above Scarecrow. We've talked about it. We love the sound. We love it.
I'm down at 86 on that one.
43. These are two things you wouldn't think of being together, but with a twisted mind like Elvis Costello, you might just get Blood and Chocolate together. This is an album other Elvis people don't love. I love this album. I love the songs, which I won't list because, frankly, I'm intimidated to at this point to list songs.
No one needs a list of the songs. Who's gonna watch this crap anyway?
Hey.
I love that album. Elvis Costello, 43, Blood and Chocolate.
Whatever. Number 44 for me is the first album from Fine Young Cannibals.
Wow.
Roland Gift making
Where did I at? What number is this?
44.
Creating quite a
I was
stir.
at 68.
I'm glad you put it that high, Derek. I'm glad you put it that high.
It's an outstanding album.
Outstanding album.
I'm glad I put it that high too. I've had no qualms about putting it that high. Number 43, The Rolling Stones. It's only rock and roll. Great album.
But we like it.
We
I
like
think we
it.
can agree.
It's
That's
all-
one thing we can agree on.
We can agree on
We
that.
like that. We
Shake
like
my hand.
that.
There we go.
like that.
It's only rock and roll, but we like it. Ain't too proud to beg us on it. If I'm not,
Oh,
stay
great
tuned
song.
for a while. And it's great. We enjoy it. Go ahead, Deon.
Oh, great.
We're
I'm
moving
gl-
towards the top 40. We're
Oh, we're
spiraling right along. Get more involved there. Have some.
Damn the Torpedoes, I'm gonna go on with this list. Tom Petty, Damn the Torpedoes, great album. I wish it could be higher, but there's so much great music out there. Tom Petty just doing a 41, a band that burst onto the scene. They might even be higher if they weren't so no either, even though it's 87. These are guys who can rock. They don't just mix rock and funk like Prince does. They really rock, then they throw a little funk. Living Color, open for the Stones, boo the Stones off the stage. In fact, the show I saw, the Stones were booed off the stage when they came on after Living Color. Those guys came out and actually did a few Stones songs. I love this album. Rock on, guys. Great message band, angry young band. I love it.
By Fishbone, they're better, but Color does a good job too. Don't let yourself be fooled into thinking Living Color is better than Fishbone, because they're not. Number 42, some reggae. From the motion picture soundtrack, The Harder They Come, Jimmy Cliff.
Great album.
It's a great album.
Great
It comes
album.
in number 42
Oh.
also.
Great album.
Great album.
Great album. Decent movie.
Decent movie.
Great
How
album.
is this movie?
Great album. Good, interesting,
Grainy
gutsy
movie,
film.
grainy movie.
Grainy movie.
Grainy in a textural sense.
Both physically grainy, visually grainy, and
I love the title. I can think about the title for hours. Whenever you put
Well,
harder,
we certainly have the time.
we certainly have.
I love it.
I love that.
Another thing I love, and another title I love, number 41, Prince, Love Sexy.
Interesting.
It's the number 41 album of all time on the list. Didn't quite squeeze into the top 40. It's so funky.
It's funky. I hit 65. It's funky.
It's funky.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. Dan had it a little low. I had it right on. Number 41.
Great.
We're moving into the top 40.
Oh, top 40. It's important to realize as we move into the top 41. Obviously, we're 60% done, which is a sigh of relief for everyone.
And
also-
the last 40 have gone much quicker than the first.
Oh, they race by. They race by. I'd like to say something about the top before. Aside from what songs make up the top 40, the top 40 is kind of a magical thing in pop music. You've got
Where did that number come from?
I don't know. I think it's. I heard it was from the Bible. There's different. One person said I heard originally that Casey Kasem, Dick Clark, and Frank Sinatra were sitting together, and they were mulling things around, and they came up with 40. And that's just what the song is. I heard it's from the Bible. It's from the Book of Leviticus. I don't know. It has a
Maybe
magical
it's just
thing.
40 because that's how long it took to say fill an hour program or
That's possible.
an hour and a half program.
That's-
All I can say is thank God we have the 6 hours to cover.
Thank God we're not limited to that.
I heard it was from the U2 song.
That's possible.
How long?
that's back in a concert feature.
Wait, let's just get that in sync.
Okay.
How long?
Is everything on it? Don't
Get
be
out here.
embarrassed to wave.
Get out here.
Don't be embarrassed to wave. If you're at home, don't be afraid to get us on the shoulder and just say,
Let's just sing.
how long to
Sing this song.
Great song, Reed.
How long?
You two will often leave the stage and let the crowd continue. That thanks said you're the greatest.
Thanks, Ed.
40 people and we can't give enough. In fact, we haven't. 40
Believe
an
me,
album.
you're gonna be plenty.
Believe me, you can never make up for this. We can never repay him. He may never repay us. 40 an album. I guess I like this guy more. I guess I like this album more. Honky Chateau, Elton. I love this album. Amy, Susie. These aren't old girlfriends. Believe me. I
believe you.
I like Derek. Often go out more with tend to go out with Thomas and Morris. Anyway, I like Honky Chateau. It's a great
Day.
album. Morris Day. 39, a new album, which I said, I don't care, put it on. It's a guy we're hearing a lot from. Joe Jackson, Blaze of Glory. People put this album down. They said there are things they wouldn't like. They didn't like. I love this album. It's a musical journey. This thing's on it. I want to say, I'm going to turn to my friend here.
I use that term loosely. Not because they chose to go together, it had to do a promotional thing, our seats were given next to each other. We saw this concert this summer. We were both moved. It was an experience. It was in a small venue, 3,500 seats, the Orpheum in Boston. He puts on an amazing show. He's there, he connects, there's intensity. I love this man.
So you call him more than a great artist, but a presence in
Oh, he's a presence.
Oh,
he's a character.
Presence.
He's a poet. He's a
He's a
visionary.
presence, and he's a
Visionary.
present for everyone.
In fact, buy this album as a present. I love it. Blaze of Glory, I love it. I can't say enough about it.
And he presents
He
things
presents
wonderful.
things.
He's wonderful.
He's omnipresent.
Coming in at number 40 for me as we start the top 40, and this now is a very exclusive group of albums. All these albums are
I'd like to say congratulations. If you're in any of these albums coming up, congratulations, you're lucky.
I'd like to congratulate right now all the artists who we consider.
But I'd actually like to talk about that for a moment. Now,
Yes.
I assume that there have been certain record companies, certain artists, maybe trying to influence you. I mean, we tried to keep it quiet, but
Like the
people
Academy
know
Awards,
how these...
it's a big enough deal. I'll be honest, if I was a president of Arista Records, Columbia Records, and I knew a Derek Goldman was making such a list, a Dan Wein was making such a list, of course I'm going to send women, cars, free discs. I'm going to send these things. I'm going to try to influence them, and that's what they did. I would just like to say that I did, and I think my co-host did, tried to keep our artistic integrity about us.
Women, cars, and things. A hint for next year: send men.
Though the ladies were well appreciated, but you're right, it was
The ladies
shameless. It was shameless at times.
The ladies were well appreciated too. It's true. Sex is nice.
Anyhow.
At number 40, a band, they were just an important American band. Tragedy struck. Jim Morrison died, and the Doors were no longer. But in the years that they were around,
We may have to talk to Hal in a minute.
they made some great music. The number 40 album of all time is the Doors album L.A. Woman.
I don't want to jump the gun. 48 is LA Woman, the Doors. Hal, we've had one winner. Can we draw them? Can we give them a smaller prize? What does Hal say?
48?
Okay, to be
How
honest
did we
with
miss
you...
that? This is number 40 now.
I'm sorry, 38. 38.
Alright, to be honest...
Well, I mean, now we're jumping the gun.
I'm
The whole
sorry,
thing
I was
is
up
very
excited.
small.
I'm worked up about
To be honest, Hal's gone home. He's the hell out.
we received word that Hal is driven off the side of the road, apparently not with no attempt to break
I
the
believe
car.
he's quit. But I will be happy to pick from our large pile of envelope from the home viewers and select another winner of $10 gift certificates.
Select
this
a
hour.
few winners because
No,
they're bearing with us.
I'd like to say that as we get farther and farther up, there's going to be more coincidences.
And not only is it an exclusive group of albums, we must have an exclusive group of winners.
Oh, and your viewing audience is very, from the rating numbers I've seen, your viewing audience is a very exclusive one.
We have an exclusive group of panelists. We have exclusive camera people. We have an exclusive set here.
We've been kicked out of many exclusive clubs.
Okay, the winner, Claire Summerall from Upper Bush, New York.
Upper Bush. Anytime somebody's from Upper Bush, I want to find out where their lower bush is. And number 39 for me, the LA Woman's a great album. The Doors are wonderful. 39 for me, another Tom Waits album. Tom with swordfish trombones. coming
That's a
in
great
there.
album. I don't know, I've heard great things about
It's a
it.
great album. Number 39. Can't get enough of Tom.
Yeah, but apparently you haven't. 38, what more can I say? LA Woman, it's a crazy world. I feel like I'm walking down the street and running into people I haven't seen in years. That's a feeling I have. People I was hoping I would never see again. 37, the Rolling Stones. I think that's something we've all experienced. Sticky Fingers, great album. The Stones I didn't want to make Stones fans mad with the Living Color comment. It's just what happened in one show. I love the Stones' Sticky Fingers.
Coming in at number 38 for me, the first album from The Clash. Featuring Clash City Rockers, White Man and Hammersmith Palace. It's great. It's not London Calling, but it's an album that
In fact, it's titled The Clash, not London Calling.
in some ways, it really gets at what the Clash are all about. It's got a great, I'm so bored with the USA.
Oh.
It's an angry album. It's got a gritty,
That song was based on Born in
garage-style
the USA.
sound. Mick Jones is going off. Joe Strummer is going off. This was their heyday, folks. It's the number 38 album of all time.
I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to call upon your expertise. I'm not too proud to use. What album is Radio Clash on? This is Radio Clash.
This is Radio Clash.
Where do I go to get that?
This is Radio Clash is is only available on Black Market Clash originally,
Really?
which is which was a sort of an EP, and you can't get.
You don't get from
But then you can now get they have
Story
those
of the
collections. It is on the story.
Okay, so now it's
It is-
available. It's
Yes.
accessible to our viewers.
Oh yes, it's now
I can
available
go buy
on.
this.
It's available on the Story of the Clash, and there's actually a new Clash collection, which is a one-disc collection that's a budget price, and I don't know where it came from. It's just
Out of nowhere, out of the blue. Debbie Gibson.
and it's mostly London Calling and the Clash songs, but check it out because this is Radio Clash might be on it.
Okay, thank you.
Number 37, Funky, Funky, Funky. Yes, it's a bootleg. Yes, you have to pay through the nose for
I
it.
think I know what it is.
It's great. It's the Black
Oh.
Album. It's great.
I respect you for having the guts to put that on.
It comes in 4 slots above Love Sexy, which we heard down at 41. They were released in the same year. Anybody who in the same year puts out 2 albums hovering right around the top 40 all time, and they battle over which one to release because one might be a little better than the other. This guy's a genius. The Black Album is just exciting, super funky, sexy.
We can't say enough about Prince, but we're gonna keep trying.
We're going to keep trying. Buy the Black Album if you can get your hands on it. Number 37.
36, former Genesis man, Peter Gabriel, Security. Again, here's someone who before other people was doing interesting things. He's got Rhythm of the Heat, he's got rhythms, different interesting things going on. You know, you look at him and Phil Collins, they each left and went their separate ways. You've got one guy, Peter Gabriel, creating interesting new music. You've got Phil Collins just creating garbage. I love Security. No 2 songs are the same. Shock the Monkey, interesting, but still accessible, was a hit. I love the album, a lot of it just...
So I must say that Phil Collins is now, since he's through with the fluffy, meaningless lyrics, he's going on to new things about the homeless.
Oh,
and
he's so serious
and the
now.
Irish and that sort
Yeah,
of
I'd like to actually take that back. because
But
Phil Collins-
seriously, he's a dick.
Oh, I'm sorry, I want to take that back. I forgot now Phil Collins is all serious.
Right.
He also has a very successful movie that came out in England.
Buster!
Buster, yeah. But
Came
we'll-
out
that's-
here,
that's
too.
a-
What Buster? If you go to see that movie and pay so much as $1 to rent it, I don't want any part of you. I don't even want you buying my books. And as you know from this show, there's very few times I'll say that.
Right.
You can
35.
still buy my book.
35. Some of us have lower standards for reasons unknown. 35. We're back to the Beatles. A Hard Day's Night. This from the. I'd like to just make good album. Great film. This film, in some ways, is the birth of music video. It's your first idea that things you're going to see later on, guys running around, the silly Beatles, the monkeys are going to copy it. They're doing that great album, the Beatles. You gotta love it.
I've spent many a hard day's night. And number 36, Peter Tosh with some reggae, one of the great reggae albums of all time. Tosh was wonderful, in some ways better
Is
than
he kicked
Marley.
over?
He was shot.
They got to him.
He was murdered. Tosh is Tosh. Equal Rights is my number 36 album of all time.
Legalize it.
No, not legalized. Equal Rights.
I was talking about that. I just think they should legalize marijuana.
It's a wonderful album. Legalized, it's great. 2 Wanted, Red and the Line, they're all great. I love Peter Tosh. His death was a tragedy. Listen to the music, it's wonderful.
We're still mourning.
Number 35, something that I don't have at the moment, but if I drank all this I would have, is An Empty Glass.
Oh, yeah.
Pete Townshend's greatest solo album, featuring Rough Boys, featuring the beautiful I Am an Animal and
Little Is Enough.
and I Moved. A Little Is Enough, Gonna Get You. Every song on it's a win. Of course, the hit Let My Love Open the Door.
Even a little of this album probably is enough, but listen to the whole thing.
The whole album is beautiful. It's an incredible solo album. Blows his other solo efforts away. Number 35, Pete Townshend's Empty Glass.
Excuse me, there's a disc I'm going to be getting soon. I could not include it on my list because every song I know I love from it, but I said to him, you know, it's not something that I'm completely in touch with. For reasons I'm not going to go into, it has to do with it's between me and the record company. I was barred access to this wonderful piece of music up until recently.
So it wasn't available.
It was not available to me. You're saying, how else could it not be on my list? I was barred access to this wonderful piece of music. Just recently, my lawyers have worked it out, and to be honest, within a few days, I hope to have it. My next year's list, it'll no doubt.
None of you out there should run into the same problem.
No, it's a specific
One of those
thing. It has to do
specialties.
with between me,
Your face.
a certain midget, and a record company.
face
call
is
it.
known in the industry, it's harder for you.
It's harder. It's a whole different. 34, Elton. An album that for some reason I have a certain personal connection to. It's Blue Moves. I don't know why. I like the sound. I like some of the songs. You know the hit "Sorry" seems to be the hardest word, which maybe a word I have to be using with my cohort here who's having difficulty with this choice. I'm sorry. I love this Elton album. I love Tonight. I love Chameleon. I'm not trying to list songs. These are just songs people are familiar with. I love this album. Here, he's not doing his drawl a little bit from Tumbleweed Connection. He's got his high, pure voice. He's singing out. I like the lyrics. I like the sound. I love this album. I also, to be honest, I'm a little biased. I got it used for $6 at Underground Records. It was one of the buys of the year. It really was. I think you were with me. And in fact, I don't want you saying, "Oh, Dan bought it for $6. Why didn't Derek?" Derek saw it for $6. He said, "Dan, if you don't get it, I'll get it." So don't, I'm not saying I'm better or whatever. One of us had to get it. I got it.
Well, I haven't lost much sleep since then. The album's all right. For anybody to put it at number 34 all time, I don't know what kind of special connection you have with it, but that's just...
33. From a group, Derek has already declared he doesn't like this group. He thinks it's overrated. That's his opinion. I agree with many things he says. For me, it's U2 War. I'm more of the school that says this is a great, angry, crossing from punk to rock album. I like it a lot. U2 War.
I'm glad I don't go to your school if Blue Moves and War are in your top 40. Lou Reed is at number 34 with his album Transformer.
The album. Is that based on the popular children's toys which turn from cars into robots?
No. In fact, the toys are based on the album. The album features Satellite of Love. It features Walk on the Line. It's a wonderful
Is
album.
both Walk on the Line and Satellite of Love?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a great album. It's sort of his most accessible great album. Lots of other great albums Lou put out in the 70s. This may be the best one, certainly the most accessible one, and the one maybe which highlights his genius best. Transformer number 34. I gotta look at my list to see who's next. Number 33.
It's with GoBots at number 30.
Excuse me?
Or was it Nintendo?
Right,
Who's
right.
next? Interesting. Mine was 48.
33. Who's next? The Who are wonderful.
Wow. Wow.
Saw them this summer, blew me away.
Wow.
Oh, blew me away.
Wow. 32. Ba-da-dum, bum. Ba-da-dum, bum. If you're a Bruce fan, you recognize that riff immediately. Darkness on the Edge of Town, the closing. Don't go jump off a bridge if you didn't recognize it. The one or two people who didn't. I'm not a singer. I'm a critic. I love this album. Only problem with this album, he still hadn't totally gotten it together in terms of his arrangements, instrumentation. He admitted that he's got better versions of some of these songs, like The Promise in Dark Stage of Town, on his live thing, which is not on our list. But these are great songs. There's nothing weak here except Meh, Something in the Night. Great album. The Boss just doing it up. Great. Bleak album, but still great. 31, Night Moves. I like Bob Seger. Thinking now, saying this, maybe that's a little high. Maybe things are a little crazy. I love this album. I love Night Moves. I love Come to Papa. I love Main Street. I love these albums. We've already talked about Bob Seger.
Interestingly, even though that's not, I don't have a problem with that because it's a great album and there's something that kept it off my list, which was an overall. But Night Moves is a great album. I don't have a problem with it. Number 32, Joe Jackson.
Oh, I love to see him again.
The fourth entry we've had for Joe on my list, coming in at number 32, his outstanding album from 1981, Night and Day. Number 32 all time. Dan gives a surprised look, thinking it may be perhaps a little low for him. I love the album.
It's a little low for me.
It captures the feel. It captures everything. We're getting to the point now where all these albums are classics. One thing we didn't have serious disagreement on is my number 31 album is an album Dan just finished talking about, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Coming in.
Hal's no longer with us.
We'll call Hal at home.
What was mine?
32.
Mine was 32.
Very interesting.
Interesting. I agree. These are all great albums. There's many albums that separate your Night and Day and my Night and Day, but I'm not going to say our opinions are like Night and Day because they're not, because I'm sure those are all wonderful albums in between. I'm sorry, it's getting late. Even the puns are falling apart.
I love Joe Jackson. Darkness, we just talked about, is the greatest. I'm just glad to be a part of all this great music.
I just enjoy sitting here talking about the music. I'm going to enjoy listening to the music. I enjoy the whole kind of
You
thing.
can't imagine the experience this has been for me, not having a list and then being bludgeoned with both of your lists.
You know, Ed, we're going to provide you with many copies of these lists. You can use them, you can give them to friends. You might say, Ed, I don't have any discs. I'm going to buy 100 discs. I'm going to buy these 100 discs.
I was thinking about just going to the tower and just handing them a list.
Saying, get me these. Would they do that at the tower? I think they would. What if you said, I'm going to buy 100 discs, here's the list, go get them. For that kind of purchase, would they do it? All seriously, do you think
It depends on who you went to.
Yeah, you get the manager out there. I'm
If
sure
you
you
said to the manager, I want to buy 100 discs, and you honestly said they'd say, we'd like to see a credit card, and you really said, I'm buying 100 discs.
They probably would.
You're like a loser. You showed up with the Rolling Stone 100 top 100 list. Well, let me just announce to Tower Retail, I'm sure that's going to be happening with all the people who are writing down all these songs. In fact, if someone asked for 200 albums, don't be surprised.
Let's keep going, because poor Ed.
I'm sorry.
Number 30. Is it me? We should start doing these one by one, because the two thing isn't working anymore. Number 30.
His head takes a knife. Stabs.
Isn't it getting more exciting, Ed?
This is where we stop trying to rush the pace and begin to go more in depth.
Now we begin. Number 30 is an album from an artist who we haven't discussed yet tonight. Jackson Browne.
Wow.
Is wonderful.
Okay.
Running on Empty is a fantastic album, coming in the top 30 all time. I love every song on it. It's beautiful.
Stay a little bit longer.
Absolutely. and we will. Don't you worry.
Number 30, Bridge Over Troubled Water. We talked about them before. I love this group. This album has great songs. I love them. It's very high. I have no problem. I put them high. I love them.
That's a very respectable choice.
I love them.
Very respectable choice. I respect that.
Thank you.
Number 29, The Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street. It's great. It's brilliant. It's not all the songs you know. Sure you know Tumbling Dice. Sure you know Let It Loose. Sure you know those. But you don't know them all. But it may
It's out on one disc. It's a double album.
It's a double album on one disc. It may be, and some people think it's their greatest album. Some people think it's the greatest rock album of all time.
I remember early on when we were on the phone discussing the compilation of this list, and this was months and months ago.
I brought it up as a potential number one.
And what number is it now?
29.
So basically 28 albums which you hadn't thought of have occurred to you.
I think that just illustrates the painstaking steps that have been taken to compile both these lists, I'm assuming.
This isn't, I want to reiterate, it's not like, I love these albums. This isn't fun. You say they have all the money.
There's a reason that I make 7 figures.
This isn't fun.
There's a reason that I sit here in this outfit in front of you.
You're telling me this isn't fun.
This isn't fun. This is, each time an album moves down a notch, each time an album has to be defeated by another album, we feel it in our hearts. We love this music. We live this music. I am this music. And it's hard. It's hard.
Well, I certainly
I'm willing to make
I
a
can believe you when you tell me this isn't fun.
I don't know about that, but I know it's not fun.
29, an album which you shocked me because I think it was 3.5. I think it was yesterday during this list which you mentioned. Speaking in Tongues, Talking Heads. I think this is a great album. I think this is great 80s syntho pop.
It's a great album.
I love
number
these songs.
54.
It's just a big discrepancy. I just love
For
this
me,
album.
54 is a great album.
For me,
you, 28 is a great
this album damn near crept into single figures. I love this album. Even the songs you don't know. Wild Gravity, Home, My Naive Melody, whatever the hell that is. I love this album. A lot of these other songs, we mentioned Stop Making Sense. These are songs featured in that movie. It's a tour of this album. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. No, don't take the fact that I put it for me, number 54 is a classic album. I love the Heads. Number 28, Tom Waits, with his Highest Sensory on this album. I know that Dan doesn't know Tom Waits. I can't say enough about Rain Dogs. It's just a classic, incredibly brilliant album. Tom Waits captures a feel here. It is so beautiful, so sad, so powerful. Rain Dogs is incredibly good. Number 28 all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
These albums are so damn good.
Yeah.
Alright.
I love
28,
it.
an album released in France under the name Le Mur. This is the Floyd coming back at you. This is an album that if you don't like the Floyd, you probably hate this album and listen to it. If you love the Floyd, you're probably ready to rush the studio and say, hey man, that's number 2. That's number 1. It's The Wall. It's basically a rock. You've got a lot of people who try and do rock musicals. Great album. Awful movie, Ed. Awful movie. Don't rent it. It's blood and guts and stupid things.
No, but isn't that the point, though? It's awful to look at, but isn't that what...
I hated it. I hate the music. The movies are worse.
I love the Floyd, and I still can't sit through this movie. It's Bob Geldof. Thank God. I mean, to think he went from doing this horrendous thing to saving people. No person has ever gone. I mean, if Satan became Jesus, he wouldn't be able to make this big of a transition. I don't mean to offend the fundamental viewers out there. I just think it's a great album. It's interesting in that it's actually a successful rock musical more than other things that don't work as well. It tells you don't need the movie. The album tells a story. Roger Waters' disturbing, visionary lyrics. It's a great album.
Number 27, an album that my compatriot mentioned eons ago. Rod Stewart. Every picture tells a story.
Don't it?
This album's too good. This album's too good to be buried in this list. This is one of the great and important rock albums ever. There's not a bad song on it. Every song is a classic.
I'm waiting for you to say not.
It represented and it represents the height of the career of an incredibly important and charismatic storyteller, a wonderful artist. It's got Maggie, it's got Losing You, it's got Man Little Wind. I love it. Number 27 all time. Every picture tells a story.
I'm sorry, I get carried away. By the way, with these albums are so great, I may spontaneously start performing many of the works on them. 27. Here's a guy we've been hearing a lot from. This is my personal favorite. Elvis Costello, Armed Forces. I love this album. It comes to you 36 minutes. You're in, you're out. You wish you were back. You might go back. It's a great... There is
like some other things I can think of.
I'll tell you. This is a great album. We love Elvis. Here he's at his best. He's just coming at you. Great lyrics. You just got songs. Everyone knows What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. Oliver's Army. But you've got Green Shirt, Big Boys, Senior Service, Goon Squad, Two Little Hitlers. There's not a bad track here. They're engrossing. He takes his ability again to make simple beat, quick pop songs that have something more. That the melody has almost, I don't want to say symphonic quality, but has almost, there's something more to it. It's so much more complicated. His typical excellent, interesting lyrics, gravelly voice. I love it. Armed Forces.
I could say all the same things about my number 26 album because it's by the same artist, but it's a different album. Elvis Costello with King of America coming in at 26.
Great album.
It's great album. It's great. I love it. I'm not going to carry on and be self-indulgent like my partner. I just enjoy the album. There's not a bad track on it.
No.
I love every
minute. This high, we don't even have to say buy the album. We're just assuming you have it or have... Or
if you don't have this album, lie, pretend you do, and at some point sneak out and buy it. Because
we're assuming you either have the album or plan on getting it, tomorrow.
And don't admit to me or anyone you don't have the album, because people are really going to...
What number was Armed Forces?
Armed Forces was 27.
That's what mine is. I'm just wondering who got. Okay, King of America is number 26.
26 is an album. There's a lot of distance. People by this artist think different things. Derek here, I don't know. God knows. I think we heard this 50 things ago. Born in the USA, 26. I think I didn't like this album for a while. I liked it when it was popular. Then kind of went down on it. Said some of the things Derek said. I came back to it. I said, you may think these songs are a little poppy, but listen to all the lyrics. They're not spotty. The lyrics are saying the things Bruce has always said. He's reached out. He's more accessible. The songs are a little simple in the beats and stuff, but he's more accessible. He's put the arrangements together. I think there's great songs on this album. It's been misunderstood. I'm on Fire. Classic song. Great song. Great video, Ed.
Yes.
Great video. John Sayles.
Right, the one where he's all greasy and she hands
It's a great video.
Sybil
It's the
Shepherd's
greatest
legs.
rock video.
I enjoy looking at Sybil Shepherd's legs, if only from the calves down.
I question that being put in above darkness. I mean, that's the question I have, because
I wrestled with that.
You've already heard my. I mean, those there was a
Back to
40
Sybil
page
Shepherd.
discrepancy.
Did she also do the voice for that?
Yes, she did.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Interesting.
Her sultry, husky voice actually lent a lot to that.
Right, that gravelly.
That gravelly Bruce come to my house and nailed me.
Right. That hey little girl is your daddy home voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You hear that voice, you're thinking to yourself, hey little girl, is your
Is
daddy.
your daddy home?
Can he do to you the things that I'll do?
And don't think those things are gonna be sweet.
No, they're not. They're
No,
not. And
don't.
When Bruce turns back to the lights of LA, nods to himself, and walks home, you feel you're on fire.
And you know
He's
that.
I'm on fire.
He's on fire. I'm on fire. Looking
We're
at it.
all-
He's off camera right now, but he's
You
on
know
fire.
that's
We're all
a
on
long
fire.
walk.
We're on fire. We may set out the sprinkler system
That's
for
a
this,
long
in this fire
I think,
trap.
I think the
He's
sprinklers
gonna be walking for a long time,
Oh, he's gonna have
and
to
the
cool
whole
off.
time he's gonna be on fire. You know?
Again, that's okay. So that's the controversial thing. Born USA.
We're now moving into the top 25. So you can basically be assuming now that the albums, the top 25 albums of all time on each of our lists are in a special elite for each of us.
They're in a corner of the penthouse. They're in the nicest room
Right.
in the penthouse.
We're not even now at the point where we're like, go out and buy it. You may not be good enough to own it.
You may not. If you don't have this, maybe you shouldn't buy it because I'm not sure you're ready for it. You're good enough. Just talk to me and we'll work it out. I don't know how ready you are.
Number 25, someone we've heard from 4 times now. This is his 5th entry on the charts. Joe Jackson,
Oh.
Body and Soul, coming in at number 25. Body and Soul is beautiful.
And,
Body and Soul
and
is
Dr. Weiner immediately sucked some air into
again
his teeth.
immediately sucking some air. Again, I like Night and Day. I haven't heard either of these titles from Dr. Weiner yet. He has them a little higher. I have some other things that need to be considered. But I love these albums and I just enjoy it.
I'll speak a little of Joe Jackson. We both love him. I mean, this guy, he's got. What do you got? 1,200 discs. This guy's got disc records. If you're in the top 25, I don't want to hear your complaints. So Joe, don't tell me, oh, Dan's got me higher. He's got. Be happy in the top 25. I'll talk more about Joe when we get to him in about a half hour. We're up to an album by a group we've talked about. Great album. I know you love this album. I know we both love it. Talking Heads 77. Great album. They splashed onto the punk scene with this Psycho, the tense energy of Psycho Killer. Don't worry about the government. The book I read. These are great songs. It's a great debut. They moved. Now they're doing very interesting pop type things. This was more of a stripped down, simple album. David Byrne, less sure of himself, more maybe a quaky wave. Not as strong a voice. Great album. I love it. The Heads.
Number 24. An album
I'm in my top 25 now. Also.
An album that's incredibly powerful. It was a follow-up album for Ricky Lee Jones after her first LP. The album's Pirates. It's just a totally poetic, raw, gutsy album. It's just totally incredible.
Can I make the point? Ironically titled because this album, more than any other, has been the victim of audio pirates.
Right, we can almost consider it an encouragement.
I
to
question
such-
Ricky Lee Jones. I don't question the integrity of the album. I question her wisdom in naming the album. It's almost an invitation. Thousands of bootleg copies. Arista Records lost untold millions. Thousands of bootleg copies.
Right,
were
from what I hear,
sold.
only 3 actual copies were
Only
sold.
3 real. It's a tragedy because she's such a great artist. It's a tragedy.
Avoid the bootleg. Buy the real
Buy the
thing.
real thing.
And enjoy Pirates because it's
Not everyone makes the money Derek and I do. Buy the real album.
it's haunting and it's incredible. And I'm gonna sell. By next year's list, Dan will have some of these albums in his list. Because
Oh.
she's too good to overlook.
Too good to be true. 24, an artist that, frankly, if he shows up one more time, we may throw him out. Controversial now. It's a very new album. You might want to zoom in because I'm talking right to the viewer now. This is a new album. This is a 1989 album. Talking about Spike. It's very hard for me to take. It's very hard. It's very hard for me to take a 1989 album and put it 24. This is an album, and this is the highest compliment I can pay to an album, basically. To me, if the Beatles were producing music today, this is a Beatles album of 1989. This is a great album. He's taken, he's always had raw energy. He's always done amazing things. But here he's bringing in more instruments, richer arrangements. Again, that's why I make the analogy to the Beatles. Amazing lyrics. He comes at you with 15 songs, There's no filler. There's 15 long songs. He comes at you. The light was just he's now just going all over the seabed. So I'm asking you to turn on the light because it's my house. Okay, turn them all on. The fan goes on also. Derek, you might want to clean up. I'm sorry to break this. It's a great album. 15 songs. There's no filler. Chewing gum. It's great. Elvis, I love him. Derek loves him. I want to say again, I do not take lightly putting I can look you in the eye and say I do not take lightly putting this new album in the top 25. This was not done on a whim. This was done after much anguish and thought.
Spike at number 24. It's too soon for me to include this album, but Dan's description
I'm sorry.
did it justice. It was certainly too much and overdramatic, and the album, frankly, is certainly placed too high. It's not as good as some of his other albums, but it is an excellent album, and it is richer than some of his other work, and it's interesting.
Well, it's probably richer than you and I who make a killing with those books.
And number 23 is a band out of Minneapolis who can really, really rock. And for one album...
Did they get their name when the original act didn't show up?
They got their name when the original act didn't show up.
I love that sketch.
They can really, really rock, and on one album they put together something so special and so magical that I still haven't recovered. The band is the
We
band,
wish you well.
the band is the Replacements. The album is Tim. It just totally has everything.
Young boy's name.
It's got hard rock, a garage sound, it's going after it, and then it slows down with something so beautiful and so haunting, like Here Comes a Regular. It's got something funky like Waitress in the Sky. It's perfect. It's totally wonderful. It's number 23 all time, which is paying it quite a compliment.
And do you think even if it hadn't been named for a young boy's name, you would have included that as the music that good?
If it hadn't been named for a young boy's name, no, it certainly would not.
It may not have appeared on the list.
It certainly would not have been that high. If it hadn't been for a very special affair I had with a young boy named Tim, then it probably wouldn't have appeared on the list at all. Oh boy, was
I know you have some, and I know you have some viewers in this state, though this song is not complimentary to this state. Of course, I'm talking about the Midwest state, Nebraska. I place this very high. I place this above a couple other Bruce albums, which most people might not place it at. Bruce did this long before Tracy Chapman did it. He looked into the soul of America, 1982 Depression, Reaganomics, a vacuum of values. He looked in, and out came Nebraska. He sat on his porch with a 4-track and a guitar, made these songs, carried the tape on his back pocket, tried to teach the songs to the band, but these were songs, I admit I'm somewhat paraphrasing Rolling Stone, these are songs best told by a man and his guitar. To sit in the dark and listen to these songs, again, like Tears for Fears the Hurting, if you're on the edge, baby, you'll go over the edge with this album. Great album. You can't say enough. Haunting, beautiful. It comes at you. It's a great album, Bruce. I love the boss. It's a great album.
Dan can never say enough.
What do you think about Nebraska?
I love Nebraska. I love
It hasn't appeared yet. I wonder. I think it's going to appear.
Well, you'll find out.
We'll see. We'll see. Patience then. That's basically the rule of the night for me.
At number 22 is an album that Dan already spoke some drivel about. I think it's better than he does, because I think that there's something going on with the music here that is so exceptional and so special and so rare for a rock or pop album in the 80s. Or in the 70s, that goes so far beyond. It takes in so many different elements of other styles, and it's something that so many artists are afraid to do, and that this artist has never been afraid to do and to explore.
I don't know what you're talking. I'll be honest at this point. You know, you said I use the album. I don't know what you're talking about.
The album is Security by Peter Gabriel, coming in at number 22.
Buried in the 60s or 70s.
No, it was 38 or 36.
60.
Which I would notice means as high is a special distinction for any album.
Right.
It's more than a little better than 37, a little worse than 35.
Right.
Double high, I'm sorry.
Right. Security is security. for me. Knowing that it's there.
Anyhow, yeah, what was it?
At any
I think
point,
we already-
I can listen to The Family and The Fishing Net, or any of a variety of other songs that appear on the album, makes me feel safe and secure, and makes the album for me something that I have no qualms
Now, is
about
this
putting at
album-
number 22 of
Is
all
this
time.
album on the same one? Is this album securely stored somewhere in your house? I mean, is it in the same place? Is it out in the open? Is it going to get stepped on? Is it going to get robbed? Do you store it securely?
It's in my apartment with my other discs stored in sequence with my other
So it's
discs.
no more
But
secure.
it's no more secure than some of these other albums. That's what bothers me.
All of my discs are secure. Knowing that security exists as a work of art makes me feel secure. It has nothing to do with the hardware and where it's placed or how
Let's
it's.
be
It
honest.
has to do
Let's
with
be honest. If something happened to it, you go get another one.
art still exists.
You know, it's still good, and that's what we're here for.
All right,
Art is-
on with the list.
I agree. Just for a moment, I agree. Security was lower. I agree with what you're saying. Risky things. That's what PG does so well. I am not saying parental guidance. The movies that we're not talking about. Peter Gabriel. 21 is a band. I mentioned them once before. Here's the album where they really rock. Zeppelin 4. You say that's so high, but they influenced all the hard rock that came after, everything that came after. This has Stairway to Heaven, which is overrated as the greatest song of all time, but it's still a great epic song. It's got Whole Lotta Love, which is so imitated. It's a great album. There's not a bad song on this. Going to California, Something to Evermore, I don't know. Great album, it rocks. You put this on. Even if you say to me, Dan, I don't know these songs, I promise anyone, you put this album, you will know every song on this album because you've heard them all before, you know all the words. Turn it on and crank it up.
Number 21, an album from band that we've also heard about. We heard about them back at number 40. The first album from the band The Doors.
Oh.
It's such a beautiful album. There's not a bad song on
What
it.
number are you on?
Number 21. It featuring
How? Hold on.
featuring Light My Fire, featuring all those great songs. Break On Through.
We're on the typed area of the list, all right?
Yes. Before the typewriter. Mel. So as we move into the top 20, we round off the 20s at number 21 with a classic Doors album. The Doors are so good. There are other albums that didn't make the list. Morrison Hotel, Waiting for the Sun, Strange Days. They're all wonderful. The first album and LA Woman are the two really special, unique ones. They come in at number 1. Enjoy them.
Enjoyable. Top 20 coming up. There's nothing I can say.
We're here.
I'm not even
We're
gonna
here.
pause.
I mean, we've led up to it. We're here.
Okay, and we're here and we'll be back after these messages.
We're stopping.
Okay, we're
back.
back
We're back.
here, and it's the moment you've been
This
waiting
is,
for.
I mean,
if you're
we are
able
now
to
at
stay
a point.
on.
We're at the point of no return.
Hovering
We're
at
moving into
number
the top
20 on both
A
lists.
lot of Ed is already way past the point of no
In fact,
return.
the deterioration of our friendship is beyond the point of no return.
Way past. the
There's
point
no
of
turning back.
There's no.
There's
Anyone
no
that looks
turning back. So all we can do is go forward.
Let's go.
And on that note,
Let's
at
go.
number 20 is somebody who kept going forward in his quest to be a star, and became a huge superstar in the 80s.
I don't know who this is.
But early on, he achieved some superstar status
To amuse himself.
in the mid-70s, when all of a sudden he came out with a song and he came out with an album that sort of helped to define America's youth in the mid-70s. And all of a sudden he had this sort of cult following that grew and grew, and they threw him on the cover of Time magazine, and some people consider the song one of the great rock and roll songs of all time. I wouldn't argue. The song is Born to Run. The album is Born to Run. Coming in at number 20 of all
You put
time.
it at number 20, I guess.
At number 20 of all time.
Number 20.
It's a brilliant album. I have some of the same problems with it we talked about with Darkness. Some of the arrangements are a little muddled. Some of the songs Most notably, in my opinion, Night is a little off. Jungle Land, I think, is simply an overrated song. Backstreets is as great a song as Springsteen has ever done.
See, this is interesting, because now that we're in the top 20, it's stuff that I've heard of. And my opinion might be thrown out there.
And your opinion is welcome.
Meeting a
No, don't take up our time. We're very busy.
I like Born to Run. Alright, you can continue.
Thunder Road is brilliant. Meeting Across the River is beautiful. It's a beautiful album.
10th Avenue Freeze Out.
10th Avenue
Very
Freeze
nice.
Out is excellent. The density of the arrangements and sort of the
Phil
harshness,
Spector's Wall of Sound.
the harshness of that, the over length of Jungle Land, and a couple of other sort of off moves keep it from being right at the top, but at number 20, it's a classic and always will be, and I love it. Born to Run.
I'm sorry, with all those qualifiers, there's two things that stick in my mind. They're the two digits 2 and 0, and it's a little hard for me. It's a little hard for me. You know, you can say all those things. I'm sure there's a lot of great albums in there. It's a little hard for me to see that at number 20. And my number 20 is Debbie Gibson Out of the Blue, because like, you see this wrong. So at my 20, you shouldn't joke about this. Peter Gabriel's album, known as his third album, self-titled album, Melted Face, is how it's known. He wasn't titling him. Great album. Security Experiments does different things. This just defines the 80s pop sound. I mean, you got Games Without Frontiers. Biko, he's doing, you know, all of a sudden it became a big cause. All these portals like 3 years before everyone else. He honestly is doing Stephen Biko. Literally no one else in the music industry who had all these causes was interested. Here he is with Biko. Years at Family Snapshot, a great ballad. He's got Rockers, Not One of Us. Just a great album. Peter Gabriel, a great artist, a great album.
Number 19 we're at now. This is an album that Dan mentioned way back. It's an album that I've always thought was just a little bit extra special.
Nothing special.
Something very special. Something better than that deserved even more credit than it got, and it got credit. It was more than just a groundbreaking album for the artist who released it, which was John Cougar Mellencamp. It was an album that sort of broke into this part of the decade with a statement and sort of was at the core of what the mid-80s became about in terms of the good rockers. The Springsteen, the Cougar, the Petty. Scarecrow is brilliant. Minutes to Memories is an incredible song. Rain on the Scarecrow is a powerful, powerful number. I did a rendition of Grandma's theme earlier in the evening, which we all enjoyed. Between a laugh and a tear, which he sings with Ricky Lee Jones, is a beautiful, beautiful song. Scarecrow is gorgeous. I don't understand keeping it as low. I don't understand. It's never been an album that you've had as much you've appreciated to the extent that I have. I love it. It's my number 19 album of all time.
Maybe 63 is low. That's a big discrepancy. That may be one of our biggest discrepancies. To me, it is an interesting album, it's a great album, but it is not at that level. Musically, it's not interesting enough to be that album. It's not musically
because Rain on the Scarecrow, when he's plodding through with that percussion, it's got that driving sound. It's got that image of a gale wind with
that song is the exception. I don't hear in Minutes to Memories, which I love the lyrics. The music isn't. The music is very basic. The music is.
And might I say that? Let's try not to make these last 20 like the first 20.
Move on. Scarecrow, number 19.
Number 19, The Head, Talking As We talked about them before, Remain in Light. They were fusing interesting new Afro pop, bringing in new sounds long before anyone else was. This is a great album. It's got Once in a Lifetime. It's just Born Under Punches, Cross-Eyed Pandas. Great album, Talking Heads. We love them. We've always sang a great deal. This is a very fresh and innovative album. It bridges their earlier, more stripped down stuff and their newer, richer sound. They were ahead of their pack on this one. 19.
Number 18. Just a funky album. Dan's already mentioned it. We had a discrepancy talking about the different filler issues in it. It's Prince's 1999. Little Red Corvette, Let's Pretend We're Married, 1999, Delirious, DMSR. These songs are too good, too special, too funky. They define 80s pop and rock. He crossed over with this album. Little Red Corvette became a rock song and a soul song. Prince became a figure who white rock fans and black soul fans both identified with, and it started to happen on this album. Little Red Corvette may be the single most important. If Kiss is the greatest song of the 80s, Little Red Corvette may be the most important one. And 1999 is kept from being maybe in the top 3 or 4 of all time by some of its filler, but it stays right up there in the top 20 because the music is just too good. Number 18.
Great music. Number 18, a group we already heard about, The Doors. The Doors' first album. This is a classic 60s. This is just a great album. There's something Jim Morrison has that no one else has as a singer, as a lyricist. There's a sound that they have. This is their magical album. It's one of the great albums of all time. Doors, 18, The Doors.
Great. Number 17 is an album that Dan just discussed. I have it coming in a little bit higher. It's the third album from Peter Gabriel. Everything he said is more than true. Number 17 all time. Love it.
My number 17 is, I would say, the most controversial album. It's gonna most surprise you. I put it there. This is a bigger controversy fight just because this is something no one else would put here. I thought about this for a long time, and I can't help but put it here. It's Pete Townsend, White City. I love this album. I love the lyrics. I love the sound of this album. Maybe I'm finding something in this album that other people aren't. Maybe this is Pete's special message to me. Maybe that's what it is. Give Blood, the sound of that. Secondhand Love, these are just amazing songs. Face. I love Crashing by Design. I love the White City Fighting, Coming Along last songs. I love these songs, and as much as I challenged myself to say this might not be right up there, it is. I apologize to other people who might not agree. That's that's what it sells books. I rock the boat. Sometimes I rock the boat. That's how I sell my books. Number 17, White City.
No apologies. It happens that as a Pete Townsend fan, and you know I am. You've heard about the Who. Empty Glass was right up in the top 40 of all time. I don't even really like the White City album. It wouldn't even be a consideration for me. I think the arrangements are overdone, and the songs are frankly kind of boring, and they hit me, most of them, with sort of a thud. It's not a bad album, but it's not now my particular, not a top 100 album. He's got a number 17. That's what makes this fun. That's what makes
That's why we all listen to these albums.
Number 16. Number 16 is an album that Dan again just got done talking about. I'm again a few notches higher than him on it. Talking Heads, Remain in Light. We love the Heads. They're wonderful. This album, a similar type of comment is Security. It's moving forward. It's so different. It's so progressive. It's so exciting. The first time I ever listened to Remain in Light, I still remember it because my reaction was, wow, this is weird. I wasn't that familiar with the Talking Heads yet. It's not like, they were something new for me. And you really are experiencing something different than just what normal pop music is like. And that's what these albums, once we get up into the top 20, need to be about. That's why Gabriel's Security's here. That's why Gabriel's third album's
That's
here.
why we're here.
That's why we're here. Remain in Light, number 16 all time. Brilliant.
My 16 it's an album you specifically derided. I think some people would put it here, some people would deride it. It's a group we talked about before. It's U2, The Joshua Tree. This is an album that came out, was immediately overkill. They're on the cover of Time. They're playing the singles. They're doing all things, rattle and hum, a ridiculous movie that makes Spinal Tap look like a serious introspection. They're ridiculous. The movie's ridiculous. But
good music, bad movie.
Once all the furor died down, I came back to this album, and with the exception of Mothers of the Disappeared, which I wish the song would, I love this album. In God's Country is the consummate U2 album.
I still haven't found
I like that.
I love that one.
Red Hill Mining Town?
I love Red Hill Mining
great.
Strip through your wires. I came back to this album and I embraced it. It embraced me. Some people don't like it, so I think it's you choose. So I think it is a definer of 80s pop. It is important in terms of 80s pop.
It's important in terms of 80s pop because all those schleppers went out and bought it, including me.
I think I came back to this album. You two, welcome back.
Don't like it. With or Without You was a good, not great single. Bullet the Blue Sky was
Great
an
single.
interesting song.
Running
because
to
it was
Stand
sort of
Still.
intense. Running to Stand
Oh,
Still is a
great.
nice song. In God's Country is a good song.
That's a great
The album is not a great album. It's an overrated album, as is War.
I'm back.
Joshua Tree is more overrated than War. To put that at number 16 surprises me. I never thought it would be that high there. I never did.
In fact, at this point, were you thinking it wasn't even on the list?
Well, I didn't know because I wasn't thinking if I would.
Believe me, True Blue.
True love.
At number 15, a great, incredibly interesting, murky, sort of alienating album. The first album from a band who went on to much more sort of conventional things and sort of grew into their stardom nicely, unlike U2. REM's Murmur. It's so good. It's so eccentric and exciting and depressing. It's a fantastic album. Every song on it's great. By Murmur, number 15.
Help! No, that's not Ed yelling. That's not the one at the stage yet yelling after this marathon. It's just a great Beatles album. Good film, great album. Again, their tradition of starting this whole
Not as good as A Hard Day's Night.
No, probably not. It's a little stupid. It's more like what you might see the Monkees do. They're running around on the beach. It's kind of stupid. Again, you've got classic songs like You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, an inspiration of people like Elvis, who I saw do this live acoustically. There's great songs. The Night Before, the title track Help. Just one of the great Beatles albums. They're always doing it. You know, I've said too much about it.
Number 14. We're getting there. Elvis Costello. We've talked about him a lot. Armed Forces is number 14.
Wow.
We've talked about the album
27.
already.
27.
It's a great album. It's just a great pop rock album. It's just too good. 14.
14. This is what Derek. No, I forget. I was trying to find Rolling Stones, Some Girls. This is a sassy album. You've got Shattered. You've got a great cover of Just My Imagination Running Away With Me, just like with Ain't Too Proud to Beg. They're not afraid to cover it. You've got Shattered. What's the other one I'm thinking of? Beast of Burden. Great album. This is the Stones bridging before they get into their 70s pop, and it's still just coming off kind of the late 60s brown sugar. It's a great album. It comes right at you. Rolling Stones, obviously, they belong at the top of anything.
Good album. Not on my list. But
Not on your list at all.
No.
Now, I remember when I was speaking with you on the phone
Derek.
a couple months ago, that was going to be up there in the top 10.
It's not Some Girls. You think something else.
Stop interrupting.
And I'm so sick of the way you've dealt with it.
Your behavior throughout has been nothing if not inappropriate.
And who asked you to be here anyway?
Excuse me. Please continue.
I don't need you here.
Please continue. And just take more
To
time.
think we let you do this with us.
At number 13 is an album by a man who we've talked about a lot tonight.
That should excite you right there.
And that's gonna be bitter on.
The final entry of 6 for a man named Joe Jackson. Coming in at number 13.
We get to hear from Joe on my list.
Coming in at number 13 all time, Big World. And it is.
A statement.
And it is. There are a
The
lot.
statement is true now as when he said it 5 years ago.
Big
statement.
Big world.
The
I'm
big world.
keeping my baby.
It's a big world, and it's gotten bigger. And if you know the difference between right and wrong, then you'll shake your tail feather out to the store to buy this album. Of all the albums on my list, this is probably the one where there's the biggest discrepancy and
useless discrepancy between the sales of the album and where it stands on it. Big World was not a major commercial success for Joe Jackson. I don't understand it. It is so totally
It is so good. It's so good.
Number 13 all time. I'm sorry, Joe, if I jinxed you with an unlucky number. I got you on here 5 more times. I like you, Joe. Number 13.
And I'd like to address, I'm going to talk more in depth about this. Don't worry, Ed. This is coming up later. You're going to hear more about this album. I would say, you know, as fans, we can help ameliorate this problem. I would like to pledge everyone watching the show, go out and buy 10 copies of Big World. Keep them yourself, give them out. This album deserves more sales than it got. 13. Hey, Joe. He's back. An album Derek mentioned before, it's Higher on Mind, It's Body and Soul. This album is just that. It comes to his body with rock, it comes to his soul. You've got Heart of Ice at the end, the instrumental. You've got Go For It. You can't get what you want. The Verdict. These are rich songs. These don't sound like simple rock songs or pop songs. You've got all kinds of sounds. These sound more like songs from a musical, songs like The Verdict. You've got Happy Ending is a great song. Joe Jackson saying it's 84 now. He's not afraid to put in that reference. He's not afraid to sound dated because he knows he's making a statement of time. I love Body and Soul. Thanks, Joe, for all you've done.
Number 12.
Sorry to jinx you with a I think there's a lot of trouble with the devil thing.
And sorry to wake you there.
Funny, The Doors was 18. That was my high album.
Coming in at number 12 is an album by a rocker who we talked earlier about how he doesn't get enough credit. One of just the most important American rockers. And we heard him down at number 46. Dan had this album way back when. Dan the Torpedoes.
Big discrepancy, 42.
The number 12 album of all time. It's so good. 9 classics. And any album where you just have 9 rockin' classics, it's almost, the fact that it's at this spot is both because it is as good as anything else ever. It's also...
And it's as bad as anything below it.
It's also... it's also representative, though, of a man who's now made 9 great albums and belongs right up there at number 12.
Do you think
a lot of great
maybe an
songs.
anti-violence statement when he says "damn the torpedoes"? He doesn't necessarily mean ready them.
Yeah,
But he might
could
just
have said
say-
ready the torpedoes. He says forget it.
He
Let's
says
where I was.
"damn those torpedoes."
He says, damn the
Damn
torpedoes. He says, damn the torpedoes.
I'm keeping my
He
baby.
says, damn the fucking torpedoes. And he says, and then he starts singing, Here Comes My Girl. He starts doing
I love that
Refugee.
song. I
He
love
does
that song.
Even the Losers, which
Every
is a
once in a
great
while.
song. Don't Do Me Like That. Century City,
Oh,
Louisiana Rain, Shadow of a Doubt. They're all on this album. This album is...
I can get you back for song listing, but I'm not gonna because they're such great
This
songs.
album, you've been doing it all night. Body and Soul, I heard every song on here. This album is as close to perfect as a rock album of its kind.
That's like
Yes,
the same-
Apparently it's 8 away.
That's the same review they gave to Always.
It's number bad movie, good album.
Good album.
Number
That's
not connected.
completely
Has nothing to do with each other.
Number 12, Damn the Torpedoes. If you don't have it, and that means you suck.
Okay, I'll be back. I'm gonna go get the album. Okay. Number 12. He was married. Is he gay? Is he not? We don't know. He's Elton John. The album is Elton John. Here's the album with the big song. I don't want your faces.
64 for me.
That's ridiculous. This is the album with the songs. Your song, Ed. It's got. I'm not gonna list all the songs because some of us are about.
You know the songs. I
These
can
are
tell you
great.
the songs.
Every song is great with the exception of No Shoestrings on Louise, which is annoying. Every other song is great.
Really irritating.
He came out of nowhere. It's 19... The album shows him coming out of nowhere. The cover is a black scene with kind of part of his face showing. I've always considered album cover art to be as important as it is.
I have a book, the top 400 album covers and the 200 most offensive album covers, all of which are just banned.
That book has been banned, I believe. It's a great album.
Book and all the covers have just been banned.
It's the warning. With this album, he let it be known. He basically said, world, I'm Elton John, get ready. And we had to get ready, as this man has produced. He's produced great songs, he's produced garbage, but he did produce.
Whatever we do,
Every year there was how many albums did? 33?
He has more albums than I have anything.
He could compromise a whole list.
Oh, I have a list of the top 50 Elton albums.
I've got an album. I've got an album that's coming in higher than Dan had it. This album is so unique, so different. No one's ever done anything really quite like it. Any major star who takes this big a leap and makes this big a move from what he's been doing and from what he's become famous for deserves credit.
I gave him credit at 22.
Oh, well, I give him credit at 11. Bruce Springsteen at number
11 now. We haven't seen that time for 3 years.
Bruce Springsteen at number 11 as I move into the top 10 with Nebraska.
Affecting album. Number 11. Here's a guy we keep talking about him. We're gonna keep talking about because he talked for 4 sides. It's been compared to Exile on Main Street as good of a pure 4 Great Sides album. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not even gonna say. Yes, I am. Sign of the Times. Great album. Every song is great. He's Sign of the Times. He's got funky songs. He's got dirty songs. He's got long songs. He's got ballads. This is a great album. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there's something wrong with you. It's a great album. It's Prince. He's the greatest. I love this album. It maybe didn't get as much sales. Again, sales, not tons of sales.
No, but they sold some.
They sold enough. I'm not going to go for the whole buy 10, get, thing. Great album. I love it.
Number 10. First
We're in
album.
the top 10.
We're now moving into the top 10.
Now we don't even have to discuss the importance.
I'm putting this list away. I know what my top 10.
I wouldn't know of these. I've never heard of any of these albums.
Coming in at number 10.
I've never heard of these albums.
It's an album, again, that I can't urge anybody here sitting with me out there enough to take the time to go listen to. It's the debut album, and oh, what a debut for Ricky Lee Jones. Number 10 all time. Don't think I'm fucking around about Ricky Lee Jones. I'm not. She's
I didn't used
so...
to
We think you're fucking around about her, maybe fucking around with her.
Don't not take me seriously about how incredible she is. She is so talented. She's more than a songwriter. She's a poet. It's so powerful and biting and special and beautiful what she's doing. Number 10 all time with her first album.
Here's an album I'm sorry to say we heard about from you. I think it was 2 calendar days ago. This is Night and Day. I love this album.
From me. That was fun.
What was it?
32.
Oh, no, 30, that's fine. I'm not gonna. There's no time for back. These albums are so great. There's such a feeling of goodwill and great albums now. Backbiting is out of place. Night and Day, I love it. It's right in its time. You got these songs, Real Men. This is before everyone was talking about gays. It was a comfortable thing. Who are these? Who's men? What's going on? Cancer, everything causes cancer. Target, I'm gonna get mugged. TVAs, remote controls were a new thing. It's a great sound. The first side goes into each other. You've got Another World. The Night and Day motif keeps reappearing. I'd like to point out, I know no one likes this, I like to point out some great... Breaking Us in Two is a great song. I consider that one of the great songs of the 1980s. A Slow Song is a great song. Cancer's a fun song. Don't touch that piano.
And a
It'll
fun
probably
disease.
cause cancer. Not a fun disease. I don't mean to belittle
Right,
it.
you have to watch yourself.
I'm sorry.
Because we get mad.
You have to help with this stuff. I love this album. I love Joe Jackson. It's a great album. Again, cover art. I love the cover of this album. I would do anything for a great poster of this album. If anyone has a poster of this album,
Mail it in along with your comments about the cancer.
Mail some in to me, too.
Mail it in. I've looked high and low for this. I love Joe Jackson.
Great
Top
album
10.
cover, great album.
10.
He had it higher than me. That's what makes this fun.
That's why we're here.
Number 9.
Oh, is that what makes
This is the next album, James. That's why I'm here.
Number 9 is an album about a place that in 3 hours I should be in. New York.
Number 9 all time, a 1989 album which you claimed you were barring.
No, I did not claim I was buying. I claimed there was one that was released right at the beginning of 1989.
Wow.
That comes in.
Excuse me.
Now, New York is so amazing. I think
46.
I think that by the time the 90s are done, we may look back and it may be higher and it may literally be the album of the 80s and 90s because it's so topical and immediate and urgent. And there's something, it's more than just an album, it's a work of art, it's saying something, nothing defines 1989, now, today, the time, and the problems better, and these characters, this anger, this bitterness, this spite, this depression, that Lou, with just that wonderful voice of his, is able to portray so subtly with those switches between them. It's just such a good album, and it rocks, and it's great to listen to. It's almost ironic what it's saying, how mean and cruel it is, and it's a party album because it just rocks me so much. Not a party album like you dance to it so much, but there's something so special about it, and I mean, it just is so urgent. Everybody should hear it and should live it. Dan was carrying on earlier about the op-ed page. Number 9 all time. I'm sorry I couldn't put it higher. No apologies, no regrets. You just said you were sorry.
It's now so late that I have that kind of dizzy feeling where you're confused.
Number 9, New York.
I'll tell you what, the thing, I love that album. I put it at 46. In the long run, it's much higher than that. I can't put it number 9 all time. He's a poet. He's more a poet. In terms of lyrics, he blows all these jokers away. He's there. He's having that. But my problem with that album is a couple things. One, it's top of the captures right now. But again, for me, we're here for one. Ed, what's the name of your show?
Music
World. It's not
World.
Lyrics World. It's not Lyrics World. It's Music World.
Disagree, I love the music.
The music's great. I love the music, but I don't say no. There's a difference between loving the music and number 9 album of all time. And I don't obviously I don't really. I have a problem. I have a problem with that.
I have a problem with you.
I have a problem with that.
Putting
It's
Josh
beyond
in
our
the
personal
3
problems. Our extensive personal problems are a story of themselves.
Why don't
It's beyond
you tell
that.
us what your number 9 album?
My number 9 album is an album that probably many people would be furious wasn't even higher. Again, in this crowd, it's not something to go into. The Beatles' Rubber Soul. It's right in the middle of before they got to experimentation with other more interesting things. It's actually an album completely. I just never said number 23. Did I, Revolver? I just never said. Number 23 was Revolver. I just noticed because I was thinking in terms of I just skipped that. Because and I knew you were gonna hold me to that.
Let's rewind and edit that in.
We're gonna have to redo from 22 on. I'm sorry. Rubber Soul is a bridge. It's not as light and simple as early things I want to hold your hand, and it's before they get into weird experimental things. These are great songs. It's a great album. Sometimes I even think the best Beatles album, but not really.
But wait.
But wait, that's number 9.
At number 8, earlier in the evening, Dan was talking and made reference to an album I like. I love it. I love it. It's just so great. Admittedly, musically, it may not be the most advanced and the furthest reaching of this band's albums. However,
I know
it is the most fun, and it is somehow, for me, has always been the freshest and the most exciting, and there's not like a second on it that isn't like exciting. And some of those songs are just so, I mean, I could like listen to it. It's one of the very few albums, including some of the other things in the top 10, which I wouldn't say is about, that I literally could listen to all day and not get bored of, like all the time. I could just never get bored of this album. I just love it so much. Talking Head 77. I can't believe
I buy that.
Number 8 all time.
I buy that. Number 8 all time of mine is a album released in Switzerland as La Fleur. This is Bruce Springsteen, The River. I could put it higher. I could put it number 1. This is a great album. It's amazing. Some people put it as his best album. It's a sweep. He takes all things. He's got ballads. He's touching all kinds of things. Again, 4 sides he goes out. Why don't I put it a little higher? I'll be honest, Bruce. I don't do it. Again, the arrangements, what he had trouble with on Born to Run and Darkness, he puts together here. The arrangements are there. They're there. My problem is, some of the songs, when people say, oh, Bruce songs sound the same, here's where it happens a little. A little with Jackson Cage, a little with The Ties That Bind. Great lyrics, but a little generic Bruce song. Not everything stands out as an amazing song. You know, I'm a Rocker and Calicranch similar. There are great songs. You know, Ramrod, Calicranch. I love all these songs. They sound a little similar. They're classic songs, and The Expanse, of course, make it a top 10 album, which is nothing to sneeze at, Bruce. I'm sorry. But again, I'm not criticizing. I'm just only explaining why it isn't even higher. That's my feeling on The River.
Number 7, an album that Dan discussed a couple minutes ago, and which I think is even more special than what he indicated, although he had it just lingering right outside his top 10, is Prince's Sign of the Times.
Great album.
It's just a great album. There's nothing the matter with this album. And some of the songs, what's so great about it is that he explores. This is a guy who had done everything before he made this album, and then all of a sudden he's exploring new styles here. The song sign at the time.
And it's still accessible.
Absolutely nothing like anything he's ever done
But it's
before.
still accessible. It's still catchy. It
It's
comes
still
on the radio. You
exactly,
like it.
absolutely. Housequake, totally different than anything.
Who
he's
now
ever
still
done
about to
before.
quake?
We do, and it's fun. It's like got a rap sound.
Oh.
Prince isn't a rapper. He's not pretending to be something he isn't. I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, which was
Great
a hit,
song.
is funky.
Great song.
If I Was Your Girlfriend, which
Oh.
initially my reaction to was, well, that's a weird one, is just this hypnotic, sort of interesting, weird song.
And he goes a
Strange
little pop with
relationship is
Sheena
fun.
Easton.
You got the look is just funky. If the whole album was like that, I might say no, it's not good enough. But because it's mixed in there and it's just like a 3-minute riff of just happiness, it's ecstasy,
Hot
it's
thing,
hot thing. It's
Man,
all
it's
funky.
21.
It's just
Oh,
an
it's
album you
all
just listen
funk.
to. It's sign of the time.
It's high octane funk.
It's high octane
It's
funk.
what it is.
Number 7 all time.
Oh, we love it. I love that.
2 records worth of great stuff, which is always a bonus.
Number 7's one that there'll be half the people who say, what the hell is doing on the list? And then Floyd fans are going to say, that's the one album of all time, and you
I
fucking...
think it might just be Dark Side.
This is an album. I don't care if you're baked or you're not. It's a great album. The singing on this is an album you don't need to be at the Floyd concert. It's just a great album. The sound, it's amazing sonically. I know we carry on about discs. It's a great disc. It's a classic album. It only recently fell out of the Billboard Top 200. It was there for 11 years. There's just something about this album. I don't know why. It has the usual kind of pretentious, dumb Pink Floyd lyrics, but somehow here they work a little more. I'm not going to say like some Floyd fan that they're so awesome. Somehow they work a little more. The music is just so good. Some of the instrumentals between the songs are just amazing. You can totally become lost in them. Great gig in the sky. I love it. This is a great album. I love it. And here's someone who is a somewhat reformed Floyd fan who turned in a few of his Floyd discs and relaxed a little bit. But I love this album. I have no problem putting it among the top albums of all time. What was that? I think it was number 7. I've never heard any of these albums like that.
Number 6 is an epic album.
Unlike
Great-
Ron's Iliad.
Great album, interesting, powerful, violent movie. The Who,
Decent movie.
The Who's
Violent
The
movie. Good
Who's
album.
the Who's epic Quadrophenia.
Wow.
Coming in at number 6 all time.
Wow.
It is just phenomenal. Quadrophenia.
Is that a good movie?
It's a
Should I
weird
see it?
movie. Well, it's sort of. It's.
What year did
it's
it come out? Who directed? I'm sorry to come.
The Who did it. It was done in the very late '60s. It was punks on the. It was documentary footage of punks on the street in London, and then
Gritty film?
gritty filming, very cinema verite, which is realistic.
We're sorry to throw around all these
Gritty.
French terms.
Real gritty stuff. Very sort of violent and a little bit like assaultive, a little bit immature and assaultive for the sake of being assaultive, and etc. The album is just this. What's special about The Who is totally captured on this album, because it's not just that anger, although the anger is part of it. It's also the love of Love Reign O'er Me, and the need, and the youthful sort of need to be loved, anger at the establishment, that kind of growth into adulthood. It's all captured on these 2 discs. It's just 15 incredible songs. It doesn't go overboard like some of the Who stuff does. It stays right where it needs to stay. Number 6 all time, Who Quadrophenia.
That surprises me. I don't know it that well. I'm surprised it's number 6, and to be honest, that makes me say, Dan, go to Ron's room, stick in that tape, and see what's going on. Number 6 is an album that, again, as people is going to say, if that's not number 1, then don't tell me you know about music, but I guess you can say it about it. This is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is a great album. What's amazing about this album, there's other albums you can sit and listen to, Abbey Road, whatever, sounds great pop now. You can put them in now, they can be old, and you can say, wow, that sounds just as fresh now. This album, you put it in now, and someone could tell you, this is a new band, they just came out with it. It still is groundbreaking and revolutionary and interesting because it sounds fresh, and it's more than fresh. The stuff going on in this album is amazing. It's been imitated ever since. It's never been repeated. It's just amazing what goes on here, what these people are coming up with. I don't know who these people are. I don't know who they think they are. The Beatles, again, they have, I don't know how many titles they've got on this godforsaken list. This album somehow, like I said, not only did it sound fresh today, it could come out as a new album today and it would still be interesting and revolutionary. I think it's an album that people will be listening to as long as
their turntables are still spinning.
Or
No, I'm not in any way condoning LPs.
At number 5, the Rolling Stones. The greatest rock and roll band of all time in my book. They just are. No one has ever, sorry Beatles, sorry Talking Heads, sorry everybody else. That no one has ever rocked
No one
like
be
the
offended.
Stones rock. No one be offended. The Who, don't be offended. The Stones just have something so special and so unique. And I feel because of that, in some ways, that they're underrepresented on these lists. Because
of the nature of those albums.
the nature of these lists and of those albums. But Sticky Fingers is number 5.
Wow. Is Bitch on that?
Bitch is on that album.
that song.
And Bitch rocks. Can't You Hear Me Knockin' is on that album. It's where Brown Sugar first appeared.
Oh.
It just totally rocks. It's not a perfect album, and it may not even be the closest to perfect they come. I would entertain an argument that Exile on Main Street, which I have lower, is in some ways a better album, but because of the high moments on this album, like Bitch, like Can't You Hear Me Knockin', are so special and so revolutionary. It's my number 5 album of all time. I love it. Sticky Fingers. Stones. They just
My
rock.
number
The
5
Stones rock.
No, they're great. I mean, no, there's nothing more anyone can say about the Stones, though I think they should always be trying to say more about. I'm not saying the Stones should be trying, but I'm saying people should be trying to say more
Absolutely.
about.
Say at any time you get the opportunity.
Just say the Stones rule, man. The Stones rock, and I'll be with you. You're getting a high five from me wherever you are.
Please say it.
I'm sure the viewers are.
Here's an album. Obviously, these are all great albums, but I was a little hurt where you put it. Here's Born to Run, The Boss. It's got its problems, it muddles. I don't like Night either. It's not that great a song. Here's an album. This album feels so much. This is an epic album. It's just a ride. It's a roller coaster ride. He said he wants to sing like Roy Orbison, have lyrics like Bob Dylan, and have a sound like Phil Spector. I think he did it. He pulled it off. It's not that his voice is like Roy Orbison's, but it's unique.
I hear you.
I love this album. No, I'm not saying this just to you because I know you love the album. I'm saying the odds. It's a great album. You start on a ride with Thunder Road. You know, you leave the porch, you go in the car. He's begging. It's so. This album is one of those rare things where the lyrics are the greatest, the music is the greatest. Like I said, a little muddled, especially Backstreets, where there's probably 100 different things going on at once, like not all in time. But you got 10th Avenue Freeze Out. The Night's a little weak, but then you go Backstreet's Born to Run. She's the one. Meeting Across the River. There's no song that sounds like that. He's never made another song. No one's made a song that sounds like that. It is so unique. It is a haunting, epic piece of rock opera in itself that I've never heard anything sounds like. The lyrics are amazing. It's incredible. Jungle Land, which I admit Life Won't Get Full Again. Sometimes gets stretched a little more. I came back to that song, though, and I love that song because as an epic, because on one end maybe it's a little overboard, but there's no other way to finish that album in which every other song could be the climactic song on any album than to maybe stretch a little and pull. And I know you like things that are a little saying themselves. I think you had to pull Go Jungle Land. I love Jungle Land. The way it ends with his primal shout, the soaring piano, I think it's a great ending to a great album. Rock on, Bruce. I don't care that you ditched the E Street Band. Let's see what you can do.
I can't disagree with anything you're saying. To me, it's not that high. To me, it's up there, but it's not because of the flaws you discussed. That possible problem with Jungle Land, inherent things. It's not quite as high. Its high moments are as high as any moments. Apologies to Bruce, but here he is at number 4 with La Fleuve. The River, number 4, all time. The River is to me significantly somehow does something a little better than Born to Run because it seems to me that The River is the voice of somebody who knows what they want to say and is saying it, whereas Born to Run is a more tentative album. It's an angrier album and sort of a more confused album, and that comes across and some stuff gets muddled. At no point on The River do you feel any hesitation. I will buy the argument that there is a sameness that emerges, but the high moments are so high, and it's such a rich, fulfilling album in every way.
So much.
It's total. I think it aims a lot higher than Born to Run ever aimed for me. And because it tries to do more, and I think succeeds perhaps a little better, I've got it number 4 all time.
I can't argue. At this point, I can't argue. Not because I don't vehemently disagree, but I'm too tired to argue. Number 4 is the last entry from a guy we've been talking about. Another double set. Goodbye, Elric wrote Elton John. I love this album. I love it, I love it, I love it, Elton, I love it, I love you, Elton. I'm losing it at this point, it's very late. The studio...
Number 3. Coming in, I'm saying my number 3.
We're moving on with the list.
No, I'm not through with it, I'm gonna talk it up.
Excuse me, let me get the Zoom ready.
Let me tell you, Goodbye Elric Road, there's one inferior song on it in mine, 2 inferior songs. Jamaica Jerk Off and Roy Rogers. Everything else is Elton saying, Elton, this is his pop masterwork of the 70s. This is an extension of some of the Beatles things. This is a great album. There's things that go on in this. There's things that, you know, there's a certain songs everyone knows, but then the songs this is a dark album. You've got disturbing songs. You've got fun songs. You take dark topics, make them fun. Social disease. You take dark topics, you make them sound dark. All the Girls Love Alice. This is a great album. The soaring keyboards of Gray Seal, the haunting ballad harmony. I love this album. I love it. I love it. Elton, God bless you.
Number 3. Back about 3 days ago, we heard about an album that was sort of thrown off because Dr. Weiner here, Dan, was good enough to admit that he doesn't know the album well enough. Well, if he got to know the album well enough, he'd realize this is an album that changed the rock world. Allowed for rock and roll in a time where rock was fading, really brought it back single-handedly. Totally rich, totally incredible. Dozens of different types of songs, angry songs, sad songs, bitter songs, just totally embodied a whole kind of group of people, a whole age, a whole generation of angry youth growing up in a difficult time. It's just such a special album. It is Quadrophenia 10 years later.
I like that analogy.
It's a different kind of sound, but it's just an update of that. The music has progressed and is totally different and is now this sort of underground punk thing because things have gotten deeper and have gotten worse. But it's the same idea. It's the same anger. It's the same need to be loved and accepted and revolt and all that stuff. It's here. It's the Clash, London Calling. It's well deserving to be number 1 on the Rolling Stone list. Well deserving of all to claim. Number 3 all time, could have just as easily been number 1.
I felt the need to slam it at 81, but I'll apologize later. Number 3 is an album you mentioned a little while ago, which this is an album which wasn't going to be this high, but in the soul searching of trying to order this man's work, revealed itself to me in what really is I use that word because it wasn't a religious, spiritual experience type way. That's why I say revealed. The album is, I'm not going to play the whole suspense game, the album is Joe Jackson's Big World. This is an album that when it first came out, I loved. I always listened to it. I totally loved it. I jumped to get the disc. It's 3 sides. Of course, you know, always controversial Joe giving you, we got tape, man, don't worry, it's a 6-hour tape. We're pushing on the board here.
Right, we got at least 15 minutes to spare.
We got 15 minutes left. This album, what I like about it, in some ways more than Joe's other thing, the music's a little better. It's got different sounds of things. It doesn't have as much of the dark sides. It's an amazing concept album. I can't even describe it. It's not saying as interesting or deep as topic as London Calling or Quadrophenia or Born to Run. It's not as emotional as those albums. It's not as emotional in body and soul. But somehow, I can't even describe its topic other than the title, Big World. Honestly, just...
And as Derek mentioned, it is.
It is a big world. It's getting... And yet, I don't know... I'm struggling to explain this, not because it's so complicated, but because I'm confused and misoriented because of the time. It somehow touches on all these ideas, jumps around. It's got tangos, ballads, just different songs, pianos. Like, as you can expect from Joe Jackson, the arrangement is 100%. There's no issues like Born to Run. I mean, the arrangement is always there. The sounds are always there. He's got political commentary, issues of the world, of the travel, of perspective. Again, stays within itself because it's not trying to like something you like movies you like. It's not trying to discuss all of human emotion, all of human suffering. It's taking something a little simpler, like, I don't know, like I said, perspective, the world, moving around, being a stranger, all these issues. and it's just right there. There isn't a song that misses. It's 15 songs. There's no song that misses, pal. For all you archers out there, that's 15 bullseyes. This is a great album, and like I said, it was especially interesting to me because it revealed itself to me.
All right. Anyhow, moving along.
After that 20-minute description of why Big World works. At number 2, all time.
Well, it's one of
It's a soundtrack film.
fair movie, poor movie, great album.
Fair movie, great album.
Fair movie.
The album, though, is such a great album. It is so...
We've got to, by the way, I'd like to say to reach into the bin.
What?
We need to reach into the bin.
Oh.
Oh,
We need to reach into
we
the
need
bin.
to reach into the bin
Because we're talking about the when Harry met Sally Council.
we're talking about the same album. And it's the Purple Rain soundtrack.
Reach into the bin.
Hal, call
Now, what
Hal.
does it mean if it's in the
I'm
top
gonna name the
five?
songs. Let's Go Crazy. It's just incredible. It just rocks.
The way it starts.
The way it starts is so unique and so different, and then the way it ends is like nothing that we've heard since Hendrix. It's like nothing that's even
yes,
touched us since Hendrix. Then Take Me With You is a totally different thing.
It's an
All of
amazing
a sudden,
sound.
all of a sudden you're taking a bath in this keyboard sound.
It's
After
a
that
muddled, but the
Hendrix
reason
riff.
it works. It's not muddled. It's a journey. It's a track.
And then
It's
the
a trip.
beautiful ones, all of a sudden you have something
Oh,
totally different. You
the
have this
deepest ballad.
soothing, epic, beautiful. And then he
Amazing
breaks, and he sets it up, and then he breaks through. What's it gonna be? Do you want him? Do you want me? And don't you believe that I feel that way? And you know he feels that way. You gotta make that choice. Computer Blue,
The one. Johnny Nicky again. Where's he coming from? What
Johnny
is that
Nicky, where's
sound?
that coming from? You can see him, that stage set. He's on the steps. He's talking about the magazine. She's masturbating with the magazine.
Oh,
He needs
it's
her.
a grinding
He goes
guitar.
up the steps. There's the notes.
It's like the old Prince, like head. It's just sex. It's just coming at you.
grinding and grinding. Then when Doves Cry, perhaps the
greatest
perhaps the greatest single of all
It's a
time.
great single.
No one doesn't remember the first time they ever heard it.
No,
I Would
and-
Die For You just
Oh,
punches
it
at you,
picks right up. Great
punches
damn
at you,
song.
and then breaks and bursts into Baby I'm a Star, and then going crazy. He is a star. When he says Baby I'm a Star, and
You
he's
believe
reveling
it.
in that,
You
you
believe
believe it because in 1984 he was as big a star as anybody is ever gonna be. And then Purple Rain.
Oh, it
And
closes
then
off
you
with
just
a
take a
ballad.
bath in this
Oh,
soothing ballad.
you want to
And
see him bathing in the Purple Rain.
You have
You are.
sweated with him. You
Oh.
have fucked with him. You have loved with him.
You
have
lost with him.
You have lost with him. You've done it all with him. And then you take a bath with him at the end. You rinse yourself off from that
It's not
sweaty
an 8-minute
experience.
song, but it belongs
In a shower.
in a
Of
shower.
Purple
Let you-
Rain.
You
Keep that
reconnect,
baby.
you reconnect with God just as you have at the
Oh.
beginning when he says, dearly beloved, and everything, I don't really necessarily believe in all this stuff, but everything
Oh.
is one when it ends, and you've just had an experience. The album is...
You can listen to it as many times. But there's an energy on that album. There's an energy that jumps off. In fact, I suspect the supernatural in the way that there is some infectious energy that jumps off every song on that album that you can't help but catch on to.
Number 2 all time.
I just want to say one thing about one song. Baby I'm a Star, more than any studio recorded song, it somehow has a power that I don't even know I've ever gotten in a live thing. There's just such a force to that song. He is a star. The synthesizers are jumping. The beat is thumping. The tune is amazing. That song picks up every
And
time.
more importantly, Clarence Roper now has a $25 gift certificate to the tower.
Clarence, I don't care if you have Purple Rain. I'm ordering you since it's the reason you want it. You get this album.
From
I don't care if you have a copy. You get another one and you keep it.
Well, we're
Okay,
down- well,
I
we're
think
down
we've
there.
reached
We're
that
down
time.
there. We're down
We've
there.
reached that time.
We both yell it out at the same time, or do
No,
we?
I think Mr. Goldman does the
Mr.
honors.
Goldman, you're number one.
I know what your number
Well,
one
you know
album
what mine is. I'm not sure what yours is because I'm thinking I'm too confused.
You know what mine is, huh?
I know.
Mr. Goldman, look into the camera.
I don't know.
Look into the camera and give us your number one album of all time.
People of America, of the world. Number 1 album of all time, after much deliberation, much heartache and pain. is Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Wow. All I can say, if you like a reaction, wow. Go back to amazing.
On this 2-record set, a superstar.
He collapses. This crash.
On this 2-record set, a superstar is captured at the height of his powers. We talked about Rod Stewart in Every Picture Tells a Story. The same is true of Prince in Purple Rain. But here, on these 2 records, we have this, there's more going on here than just the music. There's an excitement and an energy and a variety and a richness to this music. I mean, starting off with Funeral for a Friend. Just
I forgot to mention Love Lies
moving into Love Lies Bleeding, and then a rocker. But somehow the fact that the two go together and connect, and that's very real. It's not something he forced. It's not something. Sure, Jamaica Jerk-Off's a throwaway. Sure, Roy Rogers is nothing. But there's so much to love on this album. Candle in the Wind is beautiful. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Benny and the Jets, the autobiographical Benny and the Jets.
Harmony is incredible. Grace Seal is up there. All the young girls love Alice. All the girls love Alice. And Dirty Little Girl
chilling songs.
Are 2 chilling, sort of odd, harsh songs, not typical for Elton at all. I don't think any place else in his entire career you find songs anything like that, really. You just don't. You know, the Bitches Back and other things have a very different type of thing and do their own thing, but they're not the same as that. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is an epic, it's a masterpiece. It's the same reason I love the entire top 6, and I'm sort of grouping those as being separate from the rest of the thing, which are Quadrophenia, Sticky Fingers, London Calling, The River, not in this order, of course, because it's much too late for that, Purple Rain, and this is the reason I love Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, because there's something here about just this superstar at the height of his powers. It's barely distinguishable from how wonderful the other ones are, but it is Elton's greatest work, and I have no problem proclaiming it as the greatest and my favorite rock album, #1.
They kind of now cut to like a picture of like, you know, the camera like Elton sitting at home watching these guys like, Well, I think everyone knows by now, Derek knows, #1 album of all time, and the truth is this didn't take that much deliberation. It's the Beatles and Abbey Road. This album, if you put it on now, I made this comparison to Sgt. Pepper. You don't put it on and say, wow, this sounds revolutionary. No, Sgt. Pepper's is that. The reason it's above Sgt. Pepper's, though, is it is better, though. It's not as revolutionary. It is better. These are the ultimate songs. The first side, John's influence, each individual song. Each song is perfect. Each song is interesting. There's fun songs. There's strange songs. Something. The song Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board, called the most beautiful love song ever written. Octopus's Garden, granted, kind of a novelty song. You know, I'm not going to kid you and tell you that's a classic. But you've got Come Together, a bizarre, chilling song. No one ever made a song like that. The Beatles never made a song like that. What were they thinking? Why is John Lennon making those sounds? Why do they think of these things that are just the greatest? I don't know. I just enjoy the albums. You got it getting late. You've got something. It's a great album. It's a great song. I mentioned that. You've got Because. You never give me your money. It's a beautiful song. It's certainly not something I have to deal with all the books you people buy. Then you get into this final masterwork, the second side, which is Paul McCartney's vision. And these 10 songs, which all segue into each other with repeating themes. These songs are amazing. They pick up on each other. They all do different things. They somehow are so different and yet connect. It's the greatest. It ends. It's really their last album. It's the last word. Here's a group that then broke up, that didn't kind of drudge through the 70s or drag it out like maybe some other groups did. They're not still trying to kick it out like the Kinks or something in like 87. They're not out on tour, though Paul is. Ringo is. No, but Lennon, you know, they're somewhat immortalized because they ended right when the 60s ended. They were the 60s. Lennon's dead, which brings a certain finality to it, and then Jimmy, James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, John F. Kennedy type way. Abbey Road, greatest album of all time. I want to thank the 3 surviving Beatles for producing it. Derek, I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure. I want to thank Derek, who is the progenitor of this idea.
And Ed wants to kill Derek.
Ed is actually we're now bringing security people into the thing. No, it was Derek's idea a couple months ago. Hold on one second. Derek, we charged each other with producing this list. It might have slipped away if it wasn't for Derek's hard work during finals and during his show. He put it together. I put it together later. Him putting it together made it incumbent upon me to do it. We've done it. We put them together. We're not saying these are perfect. We're not saying every 101 is in its slots. This is just music we love. We love to listen to it. We're glad that you all were able to join. We know that in 20 years, we know no one can see this tape ever.
We have a special announcement that's also to be
That's
made.
right.
Right. Well, first I'd like to thank Dr. Weiner. Excellent job with the list. Dr. Goldberg.
Ed's never looked at me like that.
Dr.
I've
Goldberg.
never seen it. Ed's is very scary looking.
Dr. Goldberg checks
This
in the
is the
bill.
look like before he like takes off the like.
Ed is not usually a violent person. Ed, this is all evidence. When you do this, it's all evidence.
I believe you, no one's gonna find it. I'd like to thank you both for the painstaking work you've done, narrowing
Pain is the key.
narrowing it down.
Pain is
This
the
is
opposite.
heart-wrenching. No, but I'm glad we could laugh and we could cry and we could just sweat through 100 albums.
Ed, come on.
100 of each are albums. And I think it was such a success that I have a little announcement to make. I'm not putting a time limit on this, but I'd say by this summer, I'd like each of the three of us to come up with the top 100 movies of all time. Who's in? with it?
We discussed that. It's a difficult thing. It's very
No one said it would be
difficult. I'd say we do it because
I say we do it. I have one qualification. I need to know, and I think we should do it this way. I think that for everybody's sake, so it's not like sitting around talking about things no one's ever seen, that it should be the best American
Well, let's
film.
not say
'Cause otherwise
American.
half of my
Let's not say
films won't be
American. Let's say
American.
English speaking. English speaking movie. Because you might want to throw an Australian one on there. You might want to throw in.
Well, yeah, but I might want to throw a French one on there. The thing is, I think
Right, but-
I think you.
Okay,
let's go
French,
American
they
movies.
don't
Let's
speak-
go
they don't
American
speak
movies.
English.
I think
They'll
we
all
should
be
go
movies
American
we know.
Because I think that there's a better chance if we get into Australian movies, I'm gonna be throwing in movies that no one's that you guys aren't gonna know. I mean, when I start throwing on the Dundee movies.
When he puts crocodile
So,
into you lose
well,
me.
fine, but when Mad Max, like Beyond Thunderdome shows up, don't start throwing things.
What's interesting about that? That's very
Let's
interesting.
deal. Let's look
They're
at it.
hard
We
to
can- we can-
research.
We can.
We should pick up that gauntlet. I may say maybe 50 movies. That's the only thing I would say. It's so hard to order.
No, then it's not fun though, because then like when you get 100, you can kind of reach down.
I don't think it's hard to order. I think it's hard to see the movie. Like, I think it needs a big enough
Same
time
with the camera?
period. It needs.
But we're announcing it very early.
It needs a big enough time period so
We're
that.
going to screen all 300 movies.
Well,
so
no one's
that,
gonna
so
be
that all the movies can be seen.
No one's gonna be analyzing the list. It's all right if you don't get the order exactly right on the 70s or something.
Yeah.
I think it's worth doing.
I think it's definitely worth doing.
It's worth doing. I only said, like I said, 100 might be tough, but I think we should go for that.
And we'll see.
It's hard to do because it's not like boom. You just think.
I can do it. I mean, I can't boom, but I
I
do
will,
it.
I will have a lot of trouble, but I can do it. It'll be harder to research.
Well, you use the researching. You just use that book.
It's still hard.
Yeah, but you just brainstorm, you come up with things,
Yeah,
you
that's
narrow it down.
Yeah, that's actually it's not so because you take that book, you think of actors, you think of things, you look them up.
All right, well that's the challenge.
Mine
That's
we're moving on time. I think I'll just announce now is Return of the Jedi.
That might be on there.
That's good. The Star Wars.
Anyhow, Dr.
Thank
Weiner.
you, Ed. I think Ed deserves a special
Ed
thanks.
deserves a
But
special
basically,
round of applause.
something that I really think no other human being would have done.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
no other human being would have, because even Ed was making faces and gestures I've never seen him do.
Right. No, there's no doubt that in a million years we couldn't have gotten someone else to do it.
And I'd like to thank you for